Welcome back to the channel. It's your boy, the HipHopLobbyist, and in today's video, you know what I don't have is the mic close. That's another thing, probably. Welcome back to the channel. It's your boy, the HipHopLobbyist, and in today's video, we'll hear CNN's report on Joe Biden, President Biden, having the largest commutations and pardons in U.S. history. Let's get into the video.
Some breaking news this morning. President Biden putting his pardon power to use, just announcing he is commuting the sentences for over 1,500 people, including pardons for 39 people convicted of nonviolent crimes. To put it in context, this move is seen as the largest single-day act of clemency in modern history. This big unveil, of course, comes on the heels of Biden's full and unconditional pardon of his son Hunter that got so much attention. This is likely to as well. CNN's Arlette Saenz has much more for us from the White House this morning. Tell us more, Arlette.
Well, Kate, President Biden is using one of the remaining tools available to him in his final days in office to grant clemency to a wide swath of individuals. The president saying that this boils down to trying to give people a second chance. Now, in all, the president is commuting the sentences of nearly 1,500 individuals, the single largest act of clemency in a single day. To put that in perspective, the previous record was set by President Barack Obama when he commuted the sentences for 330 individuals in the final days that he was in office. Now, the White House says that these individuals who will be impacted were placed on home confinement during the COVID-19 pandemic, and the White House says that they have shown a commitment to rehabilitation and reintegration into their communities. On top of that act of clemency, the president is also pardoning 39 individuals who had non-criminal charges that they had faced, or not violent crimes that they had faced, and that includes drug offenses. Now, the president in his statement had said, quote, "America was built on the promise of possibility and second chances. As president, I have the great privilege of extending mercy to people who have demonstrated remorse and rehabilitation, restoring opportunity for Americans to participate in daily life and contribute to their communities." Now, it comes as President Biden has faced significant pressure to grant more clemency in his closing days in office. There are some who are pushing for him to take several dozen inmates off of federal death row. But this pressure for more acts of clemency really has heightened since President Biden had issued that full and unconditional pardon of his son Hunter Biden, which really drew fierce backlash from Republicans and Democrats in the president's own party after the president for months had said that he would not do so. Now,
I think that, and on this channel, I haven't had a chance to really publish my thoughts on that. I've had some thoughts on it, but I just didn't really feel that the content was worthy of being published. But I do feel that the backlash was necessary. People realized that they didn't have the privilege that the president had, and not just from being the president of the United States, but just a privilege of being a white man in America. That being the son of a white man in America who is a U.S. senator, a vice president, and the ability to have them not only commit crimes for tax evasion or falsifying information on a gun application, but the ability to say, hey, within a 10-year span, anything I've done, nobody can go after. And I think that was really the ironclad fist of everyone saying, you know what, we don't have that kind of privilege. Nobody kind of gets off like that. And with the Trump administration coming in, looking at the January 6th rioters, protesters, the people who trespassed in the U.S. Capitol, whatever it is, there'll be far-reaching waves of this, I would say, with the next administrations and future administrations, because now that he's kind of set the bar for his son, this can be something else that people can kind of go back to in history and throw Hunter Biden in with the 1,500 others and the 39 people that were pardoned. But I think there's also a list of who are these people. Like, I don't think that we should put it out, but the White House put it out. Since the White House put it out, we'll go through that, but let's finish watching the rest of this CNN interview to see what they have to say, and then we'll kind of go down some of the people, because what I've seen and what I've heard about a lot of the folks already. I've kind of previewed the list. Is that there are a lot of people who are between the ages of 30 to 70, some military service, Coast Guard, U.S. Army, the Navy, people who have really not only had nonviolent offenses, but they haven't, or they have committed their life to community service and rebuilding their communities. And I think that is really what people hope for when someone commits a crime and they go to jail, whether it's federal, state, local prison, whatever, right? It's a point where, you know what, when they come out, you hope that they're productive citizens of society. And that part is where these individuals are not only meeting that expectation, but some of them have actually gone on to get PhDs, some associate degrees, some have went on to serve in the military for 20 plus years, and there are different cases where these people have been more productive people in society. And I think that kind of, it won't diminish the Hunter Biden piece, but I think it kind of gets to a point of, okay, there are at least efforts to take care of people who just weren't in the family, right? And that part, I think, is more telling to the good part of this, but I do feel that there's going to be a lot of folks who say, hey, you know, well, this only still gives Trump more right to do what he wants to do. Yeah, it's going to happen. We've kind of seen it with the makeup or how he's planting seeds for his ambassadors and other things of that nature, but that's not this video. At the same time, I feel that this is a good, heartfelt gesture to say, hey, I blindsided y'all around Thanksgiving with this. Nobody was ready for it. I back channeled it not live, but this is at least a feel-good effort. But one name I haven't seen yet out of the 1,500 and the 39 is my girl Marilyn Mosby, the former Baltimore, I want to say state attorney, whatever it may be. She was caught up in some corruption, but I didn't see her on the list. I mean, maybe it'll come out later. She could be in the wash of the 1,500, but I wonder if my girl Marilyn Mosby gonna come out. Either way, let's get back into the video.
Officials said that the president's pardoning of his son doesn't really impact his view overall on the clemency power. They said that he's been committed to that as president. He believes it's a way to make the country a bit more just, also in some ways to try to deal with some of the wrongdoings of the criminal justice system in the past. And this is unlikely to be President Biden's final act of clemency. He did say that he is planning to take more steps in the final weeks that he is in office.
America was built on the promise of possibility and second chances. That's Joe Biden's message today as he commutes sentences for nearly 1,500 people and pardons 39 others convicted of nonviolent crimes. My panel is back. Priscilla, you cover the Biden White House. What more can you tell us?
Well, the president had been under increasing pressure to exercise his clemency power, and that is exactly what he did today. In fact, this is the biggest single-day act of clemency in modern history. So this is a large number of people. You mentioned there are 1,500 individuals who he commuted their sentences. What we know about them is that they were in home confinement during the pandemic.
I honestly think that the pandemic piece isn't going to win people over. But if he kind of scuttled Hunter Biden in with this, the headwinds wouldn't have been felt like for at least another 2 weeks, right? But the Hunter Biden solo is really what kind of led to the domino effect of this. But you would just hope that other people will be included in this next round of people who are nonviolent offenders who like, listen, hey, I'm committed to being a productive part of society when I get out. And I got caught up young. Some people were caught up in, who were pardoned here, decades old crimes. These weren't crimes committed in 2022, 2023. They were more, as I've seen, decades old. I don't want to single out some of these, but I do feel that there's a need to not only right the wrongs of the criminal justice system, but also be strategic in the moves, Democrats, President Biden, because, bro, you could have tucked Hunter in with everyone else, and it wouldn't have made such a big headwind. You could have tucked in that, especially with the 10 years and whatever, for him and a couple others, right? It would have maybe given the Republicans some gang activity, kind of RICO vibes, but they were going to have those RICO vibes regardless. It is what it is.
Those 39 individuals who were pardoned, they have shown, according to the president, a commitment to rehabilitating and to also for giving back to their community. So that is how they have described these. We are getting some names and some details as to who they are. That includes a military veteran, a nurse, an addiction counselor. And he also previewed that there will be more actions to come. But of course, this comes on the heels of his own pardon for his son, Hunter, a full and unconditional pardon that, of course, sparked uproar. We've also been reporting about some preemptive pardons that may be in the works, given concerns among some officials about being prosecuted or gone after when Donald Trump takes office. So it's all happening within that context, but certainly there are a lot of groups who have been calling for the president to do more on this, and they did get a big act on that front today.
Do y'all think Jay-Z and Diddy gonna make that call? I mean, because all the black entertainers who are being accused of sexual assault and those things of that nature, do you think they're making the calls? And I'm not picking a side on this. I'm just being honest for the commenters. Do you think that they making calls and say, hey, man, have this kicked out? Because this is the highest form of getting the last 10 to 20 years of anything you've done illegal off your record. I mean, I haven't done anything, but I may want to pardon just in case. You never know, man.
The interesting things is that Joe Biden was one of the supporters of a very controversial 1994 crime bill that is seen as having fueled mass incarceration. He himself has conceded that he felt, some regret about that. And so a lot of this historic number of pardons definitely kind of comes from a lot of that regret that he has expressed over his presidency.
But can we talk about the Hunter Biden thing?
I have my thoughts on that because I do feel that post-crack epidemic, that the YNs of those time frames, the late 80s, early 90s, they were on the same kind of vibes of those YNs in 2024, right? Even though Luigi wasn't a YN, I would say he's in the Gen X group with the YNs. I would say making a paper mache gun that you could print out with a 3D printer, no labels, of ghost guns, and then go killing the CEO of a health care company, and we're still getting the facts on that. We may talk about that on this channel. I just feel that we're in a stage where these YNs need some kind of justice reform. And when we're looking back on it 20 years later, yes, there were some parts of it that were very extreme and very wrong, right? And it did really affect a lot of black communities and black young men. I completely get it. I'm not being naive to it. But realizing that didn't work, what can we do to curtail the bullshit with the YNs today? Right? I don't know if it's policy. I don't know if it's mental health, substance abuse, if it's banning social media. But there has to be something that kind of not only educates the fact of, okay, what created the need for the crime bill in 1994 in the first place, and then what are we doing about crime today? Because rest in peace to the Fulios of the world, but it does get to a point of when we see this and we understand the impact it's not only having on the gang rap culture or the community, but other kids and how they want to mimic this lifestyle, it's something that we want to stop, because it's kind of like gangster rap. After a while, the gangster rap of Tupac and Biggie was, we're actually having shootouts, right? There are no real shootouts between Drake and Kendrick, right, for the rap beef it is today. But in the same token, there are young people out there today who just don't get it. And I think that even though they won't be pardoned, I need some water. Hold on. Even though they won't be pardoned, or at least a part of this conversation, it is a point to say, how do we get to a point where these YNs of the 90s and these YNs of the 2024s have the same mindset, but we need to do something to stop it before we need to make another crime bill? Because the crime is still happening, right? It's just more sophisticated than it was 30, 40 years ago. Let's get back to this though.
Because, of course, the news this week was that Anita Dunn had a former top staffer of his, very loyal, came out and said, well, she didn't oppose the pardon itself, she opposed the way it was, in which it was done.
Can we listen to part of what she said?
I've heard this.
as we were in the midst of the president-elect rolling out his nominees, and in particular, in the middle of a Kash Patel weekend, kind of throwing this into the middle of it, was exceptionally poor timing, and that the argument is one that I think many observers are concerned about a president who ran to restore the rule of law, who has upheld the rule of law, who has really defended the rule of law, kind of saying, well, maybe not right now.
Let me just also give context that I know you're all aware of, but for our viewers to know. Anita Dunn and her husband, mostly Anita Dunn, has sparred with Hunter Biden and his attorneys over a lot of things, but particularly communication around all of the troubles that Hunter Biden and the attacks that he has been the subject.
Well, and she made it clear when she was speaking that this wasn't done from inside the White House, folks. This was done by the family and the personal lawyers, you know, not the official White House counsel, et cetera. So she clearly distanced the White House from all of that. And
that's the privilege I'm talking about. When I mentioned the privilege earlier, saying, okay, not only am I the president of the United States, my father's the president of the United States, but also saying to yourself, you know what, we're going to use our personal lawyers who will advise us on this, on how to draft this and how to make this happen. That's not something black privilege gets you, right? I had to really sit back after the Hunter Biden situation and say to myself, you know what, maybe Phillip, maybe it will be best if you start identifying as a white man. I'm still going to say the N-word, don't get it twisted, but when I heard about the Hunter Biden situation, I said to myself, like, this is unreal. I'm flabbergasted by this, because black privilege doesn't get you that. You can get a college education being black privilege. You can say the N-word, right? That isn't getting you a pardon. Even out of the 1,500 people and the 39 people that were commuted in this historic day-to-day, black privilege doesn't get you that. You can be part of the Divine Nine. You can go be a lawyer, a teacher, an engineer. You can do whatever you want to be with black privilege in America. But I can't go to anybody elected, go to anybody with any kind of other black privilege that's in this fraternity with me of melanated skin culture. I can't go to them and say, hey, get me off of a federal prosecuted crime. I want to know who Young Thug could have called. Who could Diddy call? Who could R. Kelly call? Who could Bill Cosby call right now? No damn body. We don't have that privilege. That's why going forward, I have to identify as how I feel. Because I need the arrogance, the ego, and the strategy to say, hey, you know what? Even though I'm the son of a former U.S. Senator, son of a former vice president, son of a current sitting president, we're going to have our family lawyers get us out of this. Black privilege don't get you that, baby.
No, she made the point, which I think is well taken, which is who was thinking about the timing of all of this? You know, when you sit inside that White House, you have to think about when you do certain things. Mm-hmm. And as she pointed out, it was in the middle of this rocky rollout of cabinet appointees, and she was sort of saying, well, why step on that? Why step on that when Trump is getting some bad press? Yeah. Leave it alone.
Yeah, although perhaps Kash Patel, the fact that he was picked, accelerated the announcement, because
could have been.
I mean, what you see right here is clearly two different people in the process who have conflicting information, right? They have people on their sides who are feeding them what they need to feed for the American people on CNN who are going to watch this show. And they have their reasonings. So Dana Bash will have her reasoning like, you know what, hey, here's what it is. And I forget the other young lady here, but she has her reasons. But to be honest, it's a privilege that a lot of people don't get. Even the 1,500 people that were commuted in this historic day and the 39 that were pardoned, this is not something that happens to everybody. Now, I know there's some nonviolent offenders who are in federal prison right now, state prisons, whatever it may be, and it's like, you know what? This could have been me. But the rehabilitation process, I guess, is their own, I would say. It's not on me to say, it's for the president to decide. But I do feel that there's still a lot of people who need to be considered to be released. And not just black folks, not just Democrats, not just people who may get attacked from Donald Trump, but average, everyday folks who were at the wrong place at the wrong time and somehow got caught up in a federal case, and they didn't have the lawyers, they didn't have the family lawyer, they didn't have the wealth or the access or the being a phone call away from someone who could say, hey, I could at least get you a lower sentence. I could at least get you out of this. No, they're currently in jail now, prison now, and they're trying to find a way out. So hopefully these nonviolent offenders will find a way. And not to be real, there are a lot of schemers out there, right? There are a lot of people who are doing white-collar crimes where they frauded people out of millions or maybe billions of dollars, running all kind of, what do they call those things? Not pyramid schemes, blessing circles, right? They're running those and they're scamming all the way to the federal prison, and they're not getting pardoned, but there's some other good folks out there that deserve a second chance. And I hope that the president will be able to review some of these others, but I know that there are lists of things that other people want, like student loan debt. For the elite Democrats that are out there, and some of us who went to school and actually incurred some student loan debt, if you could take this $20, $30, $50, $100,000 off, my boy, find a way. Because if you can get your son off with your family lawyers for 10 plus years of a window, of a pardon, of a commute, of a, hey, anything I've done you cannot come after me with, then you can do somebody's damn student loans. Either way, I appreciate you tapping in for the channel. I would say, honestly, for the 200 people that have subscribed so far, I want to thank you, and I appreciate you for tapping into the channel and helping us grow to where we are today. I have a goal of 1,000 plus, maybe 10,000, 100,000. Let's get there, but we got to take baby steps. So let's get to 250 first. If you have not subscribed yet, please, if you watch the end of this video and you haven't subscribed, tell me what I need to do to get you to subscribe. At least leave it in the comments, but if not, if you haven't subscribed, I appreciate you. Either way, support HipHopLobbyist. Thank you. I appreciate your time. It's more business ending, but I mean, it works. I appreciate your time, for real.